What's up, family? This is Marseille, aka the Property Pastor, here with Kingdom Legacy Builders, where our mission is to help everyday people like you and me to build a lasting legacy for their children and their children's children using wealth building principles like real estate investing. Today, I'm talking all about why I increased the balance on my home equity line of credit. You know, Dave Ramsey is going to kill me, but I went ahead and increased the home equity, the balance on my home equity line of credit. I created a second one, basically paid off the first, and increased that line. And I want to talk today about why I think that's a good idea. I want to give you some of the benefits of doing so, and why that's helping me to scale my real estate business. But before I get started, I want to remind you guys to make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button, subscribe to the Property Pastor's channel, where we're giving you principles, we're giving you tips, we're giving you encouragement, sharing our experience, sharing, my failures, my wins, my losses, all that kind of stuff. I want you to be keyed in, tuned in, so that you can build that legacy through real estate investing for future generations. So let's go ahead and get started. So, like I mentioned, I think Dave Ramsey is gonna kill me. So if you know who Dave Ramsey is, he is the financial peach guy. He is the person who talks about debt-free living, etc., etc. I have read tons of Dave's books. My wife's actually a financial coach, certified through Dave Ramsey. But I decided, to start my real estate investing about 4 years ago, primarily through a home equity line of credit. So with that, and I've been working very hard over the past, for the past 8 years or so to pay my mortgage off. And I'm still doing that. And I'm on track to do that in the next couple of years. So with the current market, I made a decision, of course, talking with my wife, and making the choices. Because one thing about Dave's method, and Dave Ramsey gives some great principles for eliminating debt. They are top notch. I highly recommend those. But one of the things I don't agree with Dave on is how to build wealth. Dave's model pretty much says, hey, invest in mutual funds, stop drinking lattes, stop drinking coffee, all this kind of stuff. Don't eat out ever. A lot of these things, and he tells you to invest in index funds and mutual funds. And by the time you're 65 or 70, you can retire. You'll be, fully debt free, et cetera, et cetera. Well, most of the millionaires in this country don't do that. And for me, my goal is to retire within the next 2 years. And I can't do that by just investing in mutual funds and things like that. I can't do that by depending on my 401k. I definitely can't do that by depending on Social Security. So I've been using real estate investing to build my portfolio. So I'm up to 12 properties now after investing for about a little over 3.5, almost 4 years. But through that, one of the big challenges has been capital, right? It's been capital. So I want to talk a little bit about why I actually decided to increase my HELOC balance, and a HELOC is a home equity line of credit. And there's also another product called a home equity loan, right? So if you want to know the difference between those two, make sure you check out my video on the difference between a home equity line of credit and a home equity loan. I'll show the link over here in a second. Make sure you click on that and watch that video as well. It's got a ton of great information for you if you own a home, how you can actually tap into your equity and use that to invest in real estate. That is exactly what I did. So why would I decide to actually increase that amount? Well, there's several reasons, and there's two main reasons that I want to kind of talk to today. All right, so currently, right now it is 2021. It's the summer of 2021, and right now we are in a big market uptick. So with that market uptick, we're actually seeing higher real estate values and very low interest rates. So obviously, I'm not going to sell my house. I built the house. Me and my dad built it. It's my forever home. But in it, with me paying down my mortgage every single month, and then looking at the fact that my house is appraising for so much more and the interest rates are super low, I decided that it was a great opportunity to tap into my home equity, right? So my house right now is valued at about $450,000, almost $500,000, and I had a HELOC for $150K. So what I decided to do was to add some more to that, right? So I went to my bank and basically said, hey, I want to, get my house reappraised, and I want to add, to my home equity line of credit. So in it, we went through the process. It really took about 2 weeks, and I think it cost me about $1,000. So in that process, I added another $125,000 of available funds. A credit line that I could, borrow against to invest in more deals. Now, the reason that is important is twofold. Now, the first reason that I want to kind of tap into is it gives me fast access to cash. So one of the things in real estate investing is that you got to have money for down payments. If you're doing rehabs, you got to have money for rehab. If you're being a cash buyer, you got to have that money available quickly. So what I'm able to do is now purchase more houses in a much faster way, and then the cash flow and the money that we generate through rehabs and things like that, it basically just pays me back. So essentially what being, having that extra capital up front is I can go and purchase the deal. I can be the first one there and have my money ready. So in doing so, what I'll do, and a lot of times now, is I'll go and either buy the property for cash, or I'll set up the deal with a hard money lender to purchase the property, and then I may fund the rehab through myself or through a private money lender, right? So it gives me more options, right? It gives me a lot more options. So if I'm using a private money lender for either the purchase, or I'm using a private money lender for the rehab, those things do take time. Same thing, it can actually take you time with a hard money lender. Believe it or not, I had a hard money lender who really dragged their feet recently and almost lost me a deal. So having that additional funds through the equity line, that just allows me one more option and one more source of funds. So it's all about scaling. So now I can go and purchase more deals. Right, to this day, right now, going on right now, I've got 2 active rehabs, and I just purchased another property, right, all at the same time. I couldn't do that 2 years ago, but that's the beauty of scaling real estate. So having that home equity line is very important because it allows me to bring cash to the table. Now, the nice part about that is what I'm doing is I'm just exchanging that. So once the project is finished, I pay myself back, I pay, my private money lenders back, hard money, et cetera, and then I can go and I can do the same thing all over again, right? So that's the wonderful part about it. But really, by increasing that credit line, I was able to just generate more available funds. So I think that's important, and that's one of the big, huge benefits of actually doing that. The other thing I want to mention is that ultimately, I would do the exact same thing with a lot of my rental properties. So as my rental properties pay down their outstanding balance, as the principal balance goes down over time, one of the great benefits of real estate investing, I can either put another mortgage on the house, or I can just put a credit line on that house and basically do that same thing. So ultimately, my credit line on my property will typically have a zero balance unless I need it. But on the top of it, it'll be funds that I can use if I do actually need it. So ultimately, it's just a matter. It's kind of like playing Monopoly, right? Going from houses to hotels, so on and so forth. So ultimately, other properties will have equity lines of credit rather built up on them as well. Now, the second benefit that I want to touch on that a lot of people don't realize, I actually learned this by going through kind of an asset protection course, listening to a lawyer talk, is that what the line of credit does is it places what they call a second encumbrance on a property. Now, that second encumbrance is basically a second note. Now, let's say, for example, somebody decided, hey, I want to sue Marseille. I don't like the guy. He did XYZ, or somebody says I tripped in front of his property and he didn't clear the ice, snow and ice, et cetera, et cetera. If that lawyer goes and sees that my primary residence is paid off, all right, if, say, for example, it's a house in my name or whatever the case might be, and that's another thing, you shouldn't have houses in your name, but let's just say I did, right? If you got a house in your name and somebody decides to sue you, that lawyer comes and looks at your property and it's paid off free and clear. That's a big target, right? So in that target, they're saying this person has money that I can sue them for. Now, let's say, for example, I've got that same house and it's paid off free and clear, but it shows a line of credit for 80% of the home's value. The wonderful part about the line of credit is I only pay for what I use. So on paper, when somebody is just scrolling through, it's public record to show what kind of lien I have on the property, and they look and they say, okay, this person has a lien on the property for $375,000, $400,000 or whatever. There's no money for me to sue them for. So it's key to appear broke, right? To appear like you don't have any money. So that line of credit actually allows me to do that. Whether or not I use that money is totally up to me. But if a person were actually trying to go and sue me or figure out how much I was worth, it would look like I was worth a lot less than I actually am. Now, if they keep on digging, right, they can actually figure out, or they can figure out what the true balance is. But in a public record search, what most lawyers are going to do, they are not going to see. They're all they're going to see is that secondary note. So when you go look, you'll see my primary note, you'll see my secondary note. But let's say, for example, that note in this example I gave you, I think it was like $275,000. If I've only used $25,000 of it, I really don't have any debt. I'm only paying for whatever that is. So that's the beautiful part about a line of credit. It really does just allow you to have that flexibility. So I decided, given the market trends, the market conditions, and the appreciation on my house, that I wanted to increase that line of credit, because it just allows me to do more and more deals, allows me to scale my business. So I hope that's been beneficial to you. If you do have questions about lines of credit, you do got questions about how do you set them up, they're very, very easy. Your bank can do them for you. You can even shop them around and get great rates, that kind of thing. But I only use mine to invest in assets. I don't use mine to go on a vacation. I don't use mine to buy a new car. Those are liabilities, right? Your line of credit, if you're using it to purchase another asset, it's a great tool. So if you got questions, you got comments, make sure you drop them down in the comment section. Also, make sure, if you haven't done so, to subscribe to the Property Pastor channel. Make sure you like this page, share it with somebody who needs to hear it. I hope it's been a blessing to you. Can't wait to see you again soon on our next video. God bless. Love you guys, and take care.